Hey there, I'm Ari from Tech Buyers Guru, and this is my Winter 2020 Small Form Factor PC Buyer's Guide. Now, if you're familiar with my website, the Tech Buyers Guru, you know that I've been publishing buyer's guides since 2013. So I'm not new to this market. I actually know the market pretty much backwards and forwards. So this buyer's guide is actually going to cover 10 different builds, all of which you can find on my website, which I'm going to link down below. I'm going to start at the $500 price point. That's where I believe you can begin to build your own small form factor PC. Much under that, and you're really going to have to compromise it too much for me to recommend it. Now, at $500, I love the Antec ISK 110 case. Now, for a number of months, probably due to the tariffs on Chinese imports, this case was not available, and I was recommending an alternative from InWin. Well, this case is back in stock, and I absolutely love this thing. It's super compact, and one of the things I love the most about it is that it has a gold-rated power supply that's actually external to the case. So it has a DC-DC converter inside, and then you use an adapter like this to power it up. Now you may say, well, why would I want an external brick? Don't I want it all in my case? Isn't that like a lot sleeker? Well, here's the huge disadvantage to having a really small power supply inside a case like this. It uses a really loud fan. There's really no way around that. If you have your full power supply inside the case, it's going to have a tiny fan that's going to be buzzing at a very high RPM. So I actually prefer to have that laptop style power supply outside the case and just have the power board inside the case, which is how Antec does it. Now looking forward a bit, Silverstone is going to be entering this market to challenge Antec in this space. They have a new case that I profiled in my coverage of CES 2020 when I was on the ground for 3 days in Las Vegas. The new ML10 is going to be coming out, and it could be quite a challenger for this Antec. First of all, it's going to be less expensive. And second of all, it's going to be modular. So Silverstone is going to be including the 2 different height front panels and 2 different height back panels so that you can choose whether or not you use an ultra slim cooler, which you probably have to buy aftermarket, or you can use an Intel or AMD stock reference cooler, which is a huge benefit if you're trying to save money. So for instance, this is, like I said, the Antec case, and this can only fit the Intel stock cooler. It can't fit the AMD stock cooler. And so that means right off the bat, you're going to have to spend a little bit more money. With that said, I do recommend AMD because of its great APUs, and specifically the either the 2200G or 3200G for this application. I think it's a great price point, and depending on the day, they're fairly similar in price, and frankly, they're fairly similar in performance. So it's not like I automatically go for the newer 3000 series. It really depends on price. And if you're trying to target $500, you're going to want to save every dollar you can. So typically I go for the 2200, the Ryzen 3 2200G, just to save some money. The other thing that really makes this system fly is the solid state drive. And that's why it's so great to be able to build your own system. Yes, you can buy a lot of systems that are this small off the shelf. Most of them don't have solid state drives though, and they feel terrible to use. So you can find out more about that in my buyer's guide link below. Moving on up to the $750 price point, this is where you really get to stretch your dollars and get a lot more performance. And I recommend the ML09 from Silverstone. This is a thin case. It was originally designed as a home theater PC case, but really I think it's a great small home office or small business case because it can fit so much. 4 2.5-inch hard drives if you want to. You can also fit an optical drive in front. Again, that's optional. I don't think there's much use for those today, but some businesses might want them. And you can also fit a fairly large cooler. You can fit up to a 70 millimeter tall cooler in here. Right now I've got a Noctua NHL9X65 in here, which is 65 millimeters tall. That gives you fantastic performance and very low noise levels. I really, really love this case. And not so much for home theater, because I don't think it's actually big enough for a true home theater PC where you're going to have a lot of add-in cards, but it's a great small form factor case at a low price point. This one comes in at about $75. You will need an SFX power supply, by the way, to fit everything in. Moving on up, I have a couple of options at the $1,250 price point, but I'm going to jump into the $1,500 price point right here. This is the Silverstone SG13. This is a fantastic, really unmatched case in the small form factor space, and that's because of the price. It's just over $50. Now, yes, it's pretty simple, and the build quality is, well, It's straightforward, shall I say. I'm going to say that charitably. But it does the job. I like to equip this thing with the NHL12S, which is a 70 millimeter tall cooler. But there's one thing I need to point out, and that is out of the box, the SG13 actually can't fit SFX power supplies because it has a huge ATX power supply mount. Now, I've made a stink with Silverstone again and again and again about this. This is, I think, the wrong size power supply mount for a case like this. So I use the PP08 adapter, and I strongly recommend you do that as well, so that you can use a smaller SFX power supply, which is what I have in there. Okay, the SFX power supply is only that tall, which gives me more room for my CPU cooler. If you jam an ATX power supply in there, you're just going to compromise cooling. And you may be proud of the fact that you have a box full of metal, but you won't be proud of the temperatures your system's sitting. So don't bother with an ATX power supply in here. Go for SFX and use that adapter. Yes, it's an extra $10, but it's worth it. I recommend that you equip this with a Ryzen 5 3600X and an RTX 27 Super. Of course, you do have the choice to flex your dollars a little bit. You can go up on the CPU, you can go down a little bit on the GPU if you're interested. And the reason I particularly like the RTX 2070 Super is you can get NVIDIA spec, kind of reference spec sized cards, whereas with the RX 5700 and 5700 XT, it's a little bit harder to get cards that will fit properly in this case. Now, at the $2,000 and $2,500 price point, I really like some of the options. Using Silverstone's slim cases. Now, I like the Raven RBZ03. That's a great case with addressable RGB elements. They also have an FTZ01E, which is aluminum and kind of a classier design. They're both actually very similar overall in terms of the interior layout. But I'm actually going to skip ahead to the very, very high end. At $3,000, I like a case from InWin, the A1 Plus. I don't have it here, but it's a great case, especially for content creators. You can get it in white, which looks good for content creators, and it's a really nice form factor. Then moving all the way up to the top, for the Supreme Dream Machine, $3,500 ITX system, which is pretty much as you can spend in an ITX small form factor machine, I recommend the LDO3. But here's the catch. This is the original LDO3 from Silverstone, and at CES I did interview Silverstone and asked them, well, when's your Airflow edition coming out? And they showed me that they do have the new panel. There's going to be a new panel on this side that has vents cut out. It's still a glass panel, but it has a vent insert for the GPU, because right now the GPU just sits against a glass panel here, which is, as you can imagine, not great for thermals. Frankly, they should have released it that way in the first place, but I don't think they had in their head exactly how they were going to achieve the look of this glass tower. It's a really eye-catching design, and then still have vents in it. And so what they did was basically cut out a piece of the glass and insert a mesh vent, which is great. They just couldn't do that when they launched the original LDO3. Now, the new Airflow edition should be coming out in February or March. Of course, I'll be recommending that immediately as soon as it hits the market. Something to keep in mind, I actually convinced Silverstone that they should offer an upgrade package for their users in the North American market. And I can't help everybody else out there all around the world, but when I spoke to Silverstone at CES, I said, you've got to offer that panel as an upgrade. I got too many people coming to me saying, when can I get the upgrade, for Silverstone not to offer the upgrade. So sure enough, they will be offering it. It's not going to be available at retail. You can't go to Amazon or Newegg and buy the side panel for the new LDO3 Airflow. But you can contact support that's based in California, and they're very, very helpful. And what they'll do is they'll basically just send you a replacement part. You know, the same thing they would have in stock as a replacement for their existing cases. They'll send you their retail piece, and they'll charge you a fair price. I don't know that you'll be able to find it on their website. I'm guessing it's going to be $20 or $30 plus shipping. Okay, there's no free shipping. Sorry, it's going to be probably $10 shipping from California, depending on where you are. And they may also offer a full upgrade package with some new air penetrator fans. Because they were able to improve the GPU cooling so much with that vent, they're actually going to put improved directional fans at the bottom and top of this case, so that it actually also improves CPU cooling. So it's going to be more of an air tunnel. The air penetrator fans are channeling fans, so they direct airflow in one direction, which wasn't good for GPU cooling because they weren't positioned right under that GPU. But now that you don't have to worry about that, they've got better airflow coming from bottom to top to really cool all the components in the system. So if you want to get that upgrade, contact product support in California. There's the Silverstone office in California, and ask them, hey, not only do I want that side panel, I want your air penetrator fans as well. Can you give me the full upgrade package? So they'll have it all sorted out for you. And I'm excited to be part of this market and help you all get what you want, and also help Silverstone bring out some more great products. Now, looking forward a bit more, I want to tell you that I have a new case coming in for review from a company I've not reviewed cases for before, and that is Sliger. Sliger is based in Nevada. They are an American company, and amazingly enough, they manufacture their products in America. It's a metal manufacturing company, been around 35 years. I had a long conversation with their marketing specialist there, and a few years back, they entered the small form factor chassis market, and they are definitely picking up a lot of fans out there. So I'm going to be reviewing their SV590, which is actually up on their website for pre-order right now. I'll post a link down below. I'm not actually sure when it'll hit retail, but I can almost guarantee you that I'll have my review up by the time that you can actually buy it. They are only direct order, so you so far can't get Sliger cases on Amazon or Newegg or any of the other retailers out there. You'll have to order directly from Sliger, but I'm excited to check this out, and hopefully I'll be able to recommend it to you all based on my testing benchmarking of that case. So with that all said, I hope that you've gotten caught up with what the small form factor market looks like today. One thing I should mention is right now I'm recommending AMD exclusively, except for the Intel NUC, which I recommend for people who need very, very small form factor systems. AMD doesn't have an equivalent, but for everyone else, AMD's got your back. And I'm finally ready to recommend that you do take a look at the B450 line of ITX motherboards. I have the B450i Aorus right up here. For a few months, I was very hesitant to recommend that to pair with a Ryzen 3000 series CPU, because I knew when I bought that in the summer of 2019 that it had not been updated yet with the latest firmware, despite the firmware being on the Gigabyte website. Well, now we're into 2020. All the manufacturers, including Gigabyte, are selling these at retail with the updated firmware, so you can save some money. Don't have to go with an X570 motherboard just to run a Ryzen 3000 series chip. You can go with that B450, and I really love that board. That's what I run right in here. I have no problems with it. It's completely reliable. I know you can go out there and see user reviews saying, this is the worst motherboard ever, and so is every other motherboard. Like, the MSI is the worst motherboard ever. The Asus is the worst motherboard ever. Guys, just chill out. Look, usually 99% of the time, if there's a motherboard problem, it's a user error. Okay? So, yes, I've had motherboards fail on me. I have had errors related to motherboards, but I'm pretty confident that this motherboard's okay. I've not had any problems with it. So don't come at me and say, the user reviews are terrible. I know that. The user reviews are terrible for every ITX motherboard, and frankly, I don't care, because I test these myself and I recommend what I believe in. And I believe in this Gigabyte board. So with that, if you have any questions, please post them down below. Look forward to reviews of the Sliger case coming soon, and then hopefully the ML10 from Silverstone down the line, probably in spring of 2020. And then going forward, I may also retest the LDO3 with the airflow upgrade. We'll see when that comes out. And of course, there are other manufacturers out there that are going to be coming out with great new ITX cases. I will be profiling them as soon as I can on this site and on this channel. So until then, I'm Ari from the Tech Buyers Crew, and I'll catch you soon.